y'all. Welcome back to this week's episode of AMA Friday with Amy Miller, Recruiting in Yoga Pants. So this week we are going to dig into a topic that's probably going to ruffle feathers. We're talking layoffs. And more importantly, we're talking hiring after layoffs. This is not a new topic. I've seen a lot of angry pitchfork posts about this on social media, especially in the last year or two where we've seen layoffs just everywhere. Every time you turn around, somebody is getting laid off and it sucks. So let me be clear. Let me go on record. I hate layoffs. I never wanted to be laid off myself. I have been. I hate watching my friends and my colleagues and my partners get laid off. I hate it. My logical brain understands that sometimes difficult business decisions have to be made and that they're not personal and that they are absolutely, to the best of my knowledge, based on just role elimination. So it's not about people elimination, it's about role elimination. Okay? And it sucks. Like there's no way to sugarcoat that. It is an absolutely terrible, life-changing thing that happens to far too many people, and none of us like it. I'm with you on that. But you know what I do like? I like when companies do make an attempt to retain folks on the layoff list. And that, my friends, is what we are going to talk about today. All right, so if there's one thing I know about human nature, we do not like a vacuum. You've heard the phrase, nature abhors a vacuum? So do we, friends. So do we. So what does that have to do with layoffs? Specifically, in the absence of information, we are going to fill that void with our own assumptions and emotions about a specific topic. Y'all know I'm right about this, okay? You can apply this to many areas. It is not specific to layoffs, but if it's here too, but y'all know I'm right about this. If we don't know for sure how that thing works, we are going to make up a scenario in our head that solves the problem. This is no different. So what happens, and I'm starting to see these posts hit again. We've had some recent, just this week, I heard about Visa and I think it was Nike again, had some layoffs. Anyway, whoever it was, doesn't matter. But it's happening, right? The layoffs are continuing to hit. Horrible, but here we are. But I'm seeing a lot of really well-intentioned people just completely losing their minds and writing posts, just blasting these companies for posting open roles. They're literally angry that a company is continuing to hire after they've just laid people off, and why aren't you just hiring people who already work there for those roles? Friends, would it surprise you to hear that that's exactly what many companies attempt to do? So I'm going to share with you from my own personal experience at a previous company. Not talking about my current employer. I'm very careful to not talk about my current employer on this channel, wherever that may be by the time you're watching this. But I will share with you some insights and some things that I learned in my first big tech company when I had to watch many friends and colleagues go through a painful layoff. And this actually happened more than once, but the first time I remember my head was kind of spinning and trying to figure it all out and understand what was going on. And anyway, we developed a rhythm. Layoffs happened more than once during my tenure. Wasn't fun, but I'm really proud of the work that talent acquisition did to help retain as many of those people as possible. So let's talk through that. Okay. First of all, you need to understand layoffs happen over there. The recruiting team, the talent acquisition team, even a lot of times the line HR team has no idea. I didn't know layoffs were coming until everyone else found out. There's no warning. The whole WARN Notice Act, I have a video on that. So no, that is not a warning. That's not what that means. Nobody knows unless it's leaked or unless you're in a need to know position, which is typically senior leadership and probably senior HR leadership. Okay. By the time that message is delivered and recruiting is finding out and the line managers are finding out, like the layoffs have happened, this has been done. Now, what typically will happen and what's happened in my previous role is we are immediately notified, hey, there's been layoffs in that department, on that team, in that area, that location, whatever it is. We are pausing and prioritizing. So we're actually going to stop the pipeline. We may or may not necessarily take down a job posting. That is subject to the decision of leaders. I've seen it happen both ways. But a lot of times it's, hey, look, we're going to prioritize these internal folks. So there are people who've been impacted. So because of the WARN Act, which you can watch that video, so click on that little short up above. Those folks are technically on payroll for 60 days. And so TA is actually mobilized very quickly to start leveraging and prioritizing those applications. Now, here's the tricky thing. Those folks still need to apply. So a lot of times, and I know this is true at my previous company, they're given, outsourcing support. Like I remember, I think my old company worked with like Lee Hecht Harrison or something like that. Anyway, one of those outsourced career coaching companies. Your mileage may vary. Some are okay, some are not. Just saying. Anyway, so that's something that happens, right? They have those outside resources, but they're also encouraged to explore internal roles. They're actually told like, hey, we want to retain you. We think you're great or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And please do consider applying to a different role. And they have access to, the internal careers page, or they're encouraged to request informationals and things like that. Now, I, as a recruiter, was not allowed to go and try to find those people. I could not, it was not available to me. I could not get a list of names. I could not get a list of impacted talent. I had to wait for those people to come to me. And I've seen a lot of like group chats started and LinkedIn groups and different things over the years that have sprung up where people could opt in to those communications. I would join those groups and I would say, hey, look, I'm hiring. Here's some of my open roles, whatever. And so we did everything we could to be kind of play matchmaker there. And again, to prioritize that internal impacted person. We would actually keep track of it and have to run reports for leadership and all of these things. Right? There's a lot of behind the scene work that happens here. Something else that I got to do a couple times at my previous employer is I got to play a role called a talent broker. I believe that's the term we use, was talent broker. So my job as a talent broker, this is the one time, or the few times I did this talent broking stuff, but that was the one scenario where I was given a list. And we would actually be giving a list of high performers. And the intention was, my job is now to act as their personal career concierge and to find them a role within the organization. So that, again, that's kind of a special subset of the, really strong top performers as designated by this previous company. But that was a really cool process. Only place I've seen that, at least that I was involved in. I can't say it doesn't happen other places. I don't know. But I really liked that process. And we did, manage to retain a few people through those efforts, which is super cool. So friends, I am sharing all of this with you because I wanted you to have, as best I could, share, and it's of course going to be some confidential things that I can't go into, and even with companies I don't work for anymore, I still want to just be mindful of some of those proprietary type things. But I just want to let you know that sometimes your assumptions aren't fully baked. And I get it. I understand the urge to like finger point and blame. And it's really easy to say, oh, that company's terrible because they laid people off and didn't try to retain them. But what if they did? What if they did? food for thought, friends. Again, I'm not saying this happens every time there's a layoff. I'm not saying there's always going to be a role for the person who's been laid off. Again, it's about the role elimination, not the person. Hopefully that skill set is needed elsewhere. That's a conversation that needs to happen, and interview processes and informational discussions, all those things need to answer that question. But I am really happy to say that I have successfully retained people over the years at different places. I've seen firsthand the benefits of these efforts. And frankly, I've also seen other people who are perfectly content to take their severance and go try something new. And that's okay too. Some people do want to stay, take the options and take the chances on, finding their next home. Other people are just done with it, don't want to do it anymore. And yes, there's going to be some people that try and don't find the right next role. I'm just happy that we're at least trying and we're offering that solution whenever feasible. All right. I hope that helps y'all. I wanted to just provide an alternative point of view, some clarity on the inner workings of these things. May or may not be happening at your favorite company, but I'm willing to bet that a larger organization probably has something in place. So once that information is released and we can actually do something about it, recruiting almost always springs into action. All right, friends. Happy to answer any questions as best I can. Drop a comment down below. Let me know. Send me an email. Subscribe if you haven't. We're so close to 10K. And we will see you next week.